Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another episode of Suhoor Bites, where we take a few moments each morning to reflect on the wisdom of the Qur'an. In these blessed moments before dawn, as we nourish our bodies for the day of fasting ahead, let us also feed our souls with the light of divine guidance. Each day we will reflect on a verse from the Qur'an, drawing inspiration and lessons to carry with us throughout the day. Today we will be looking at Surah Al-Anfal, verse 45, where Allah says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, idha laqitum fi'atun fathbutu, wadhkurullaha kathiran la'allakum tuflihun. O you who have faith, when you meet a group in battle, stand firm and remember Allah often, so that you may be successful. Although this verse was revealed in the aftermath of the Battle of Badr, its message is not specific to the battle, but highlights some timeless principles for the believing Muslims to live by in their lives. Although many of us won't have any experience of the challenges and emotional rollercoaster of engaging in combat, we will face difficulties at various stages of our life, and verses like these are ones we can keep with us and frequently reflect on to get us through. This verse is speaking about being thabit, standing firm. It's more general than having sabr or being patient, where in the face of difficulty find a way to persevere and complete the task you had. To be thabit means to stand up and not let something overcome you. So when you face emotional, financial, personal or spiritual struggles, then the Qur'an expects us to stand up to it and find a solution, rather than getting overcome and consumed by it. From this verse we can learn two things. First, that we have to actively make a decision to remain firm. But second, there is a spiritual component of seeking Allah's help through His remembrance. This two-part approach to navigating through challenges highlights that success, or falah, comes when we are playing our part in practice and coupling that with the remembrance of Allah. People often ask, how can we lead a more spiritual life and feel the presence of Allah all the time? This verse explains it very succinctly. Do your part by performing the action and bring Allah into the equation by remembering Him. This is the very definition of spirituality in Islam, leading a life where Allah is always part of the equation, and in difficult times that remembrance should increase. So you may ask, what does remembrance look like for us? There are various levels to this. In a hadith from Imam Baqir alayhi salam, he explains the different types of remembrance of Allah. He says, ذكر اللسان الحمد والثناء وذكر النفس الجهد والعناء وذكر الروح الخوف والرجاء وذكر القلب الصدق والصفاء وذكر العقل التعظيم والحياء وذكر المعرفة التسليم والرضا وذكر السر الرؤية واللقاء. The remembrance of the tongue is praise. The remembrance of the self or the nafs is effort and struggle. The remembrance of the spirit or the ruh is fear and hope. The remembrance of the heart, the qalb, is truth and purity. The remembrance of the intellect, al-aql, is reverence and modesty. The remembrance of spiritual insight, ma'rifah, is submission and contentment. And the remembrance of the innermost secrets, as-sir, is vision with and encounter with Allah. This hadith breaks down the various faculties we have within us and how we can use each of them to remember Allah. But most importantly, the stage we want to try to achieve is for the remembrance of Allah to be second nature for us, such that any action we perform, the pleasure and displeasure of Allah, and the halal and haram of Sharia are instinctively factored into the equation for us without resistance to it. Let's translate that into our daily lives. We might face a health crisis in the family, an unexpected financial setback, or a social conflict that tests our patience and faith. Standing firm in the face of these difficulties means not allowing ourselves to sink into despair or abandon our principles. It means reminding ourselves that Allah's help is greater than any obstacle. No matter how insurmountable the problem appears, it is small before the one who created the heavens and the earth. We should try to accompany this with physical acts of remembering Allah, such as His remembrance by our mind and tongues, in the form of a whispered, Ya Allah help me, which over time and with repetition translates to the heart, where it feels that Allah alone can and will help me. It is also important to keep reflecting on the Qur'an and teachings of the Ahlul Bayt, so we can realign our perspective and ensure it is a godly worldview. A shining historical example of unwavering faith and patience can be found in Lady Khadija, the beloved wife of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Before embracing Islam, she was known for her immense wealth, respected status, and generous spirit. Her patience was remarkable. She witnessed her wealth gradually spent to help establish the early Muslim community, especially during the harsh boycotts in Mecca. Alongside the Prophet, she endured social isolation, extreme scarcity of food, and ongoing hostility from those who opposed Islam. Many might think that losing material comfort would cause a person to waver, but Lady Khadija stood firm, never once doubting Allah or His Prophet.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا لقيتم فئة فاثبتوا واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون وأطيعوا الله ورسوله ولا تنازعوا فتفشلوا وتذهب ريحكم واصبروا إن الله مع الصابرين